Alright, so to get started, I'm just going to show you what we're going to make and then kind of go over kind of each page and the data source and everything I did. Um, Alright, so the goal of the app, or at least the demo app, is to, if there are no images saved, we're going to give the option to load an image or a PDF. So let me go ahead and do that. Alright, so once you load one, it takes you to the kind of the gallery page, I guess. And then you can add more images or PDFs, so we'll do a PDF this time. And it does it in order of newest to oldest. So if we do another image, it'll be at the top. I couldn't quite figure out how to like center the image to where it's at the center of the image, if that makes any sense, but when you do click on it, it does open in full screen, and then in the top left you can just tap to go back. The PDF is using a web view, so if I click on that, you can zoom in and out. You could probably use the PDF viewer, but I don't think it works very well on iOS yet, or there's a bug with it. And then you can also just delete all the images. But the main thing was, if you closed out of the app and then went back into it, it goes directly back to the gallery with all the images. So if I add another one, just do the brisket, and then I close out and come back, we still have our images there. And the way it does this, we are basically taking the image and copying it over to the documents folder, like the local storage, I guess. But anyway, let's go ahead and build the app, or at least the demo, and yeah. So first thing, we have 4 pages. We have our start page, which lets you, initially load that first image. It's pretty simple. Then we have our files page, which is just a data or just a repeater of all the files, so that could be an image or a PDF. And then there's a button down here to add new files. And then we have the viewer page, which is just a full screen, and it's either going to be a web view or an image viewer based on the type of file. And then in our global canvas, we have basically the thing that checks to see if there are any existing files. And if there are 0 existing files, then it's going to open up the start page and let you add your first file. To get started, let's go to data, and what we're going to do is create an on-device storage. So if you go here and click that, and I name mine files, and by default you're going to have an ID. Then I added a date field, a file field, which is going to be the type of local file system path, and then a type. And basically I just did this to see if it's an image or a PDF. Then click Save Data Source. And the first page I worked on is the start page. So I just drug out a button, and when you tap the button, it presents you 2 options using an action sheet. So you can just add values right here using that. But my 2 options are image or PDF. And you notice if I click on my button here, there's the action sheet. I'll just hit cancel. So once you have that there and configured, you can hit save. And then we're going to see which one they chose. So I have an if condition, and if the output of the action sheet picked action value is image, then that's going to return true, and it's going to show you an image picker. If it's not that, then I can assume that it's going to be for the PDF, and it'll show you the file picker. Both of these, I believe, are kind of from the flow function market. You have pick files and then pick image from library. We'll go with the pick image from library first. So what happens whenever they pick an image is it's going to give you an image file, which is going to contain a name, a path, the size, the type file, all that stuff. The thing we're most interested in is the path. And what we want to do is we want to move the image from, or copy it from the gallery over to the local file storage. And then we're going to take that path wherever it's moved to and kind of store that on our own device storage. So firstly, we need to move the image. And to do that, you have a source file path and a target file path. The source file path, you can simply just pick the image file that comes out of your image picker and then choose the path and hit save. For the target file path, it's a little bit different. We have to kind of tell it where to go. And if you go to system variables, there's a lot of cool things in here. The one we're interested in for this is the directories.document. So what you do is you click that, and you're basically just building a string here, but anyway. So it's the directories.document plus a /, and then you're just gonna, you can put whatever you want here, but I would recommend using just the image file.name, and that should include the the file type along with it, whether it's a JPEG or a PNG or whatever. So once you have your output built, just go ahead and hit save. And I think by default it does override it, so if they were to move another image with the same name, it would override it. So once you move the image, you're going to get an output from this, which includes a local file system path. So we're going to go ahead and create our on-device storage record. So it should just be files, there shouldn't be anything else. Hit save. And then we're going to build our custom object. So if you go to object with properties, for the date, I just use the now function, just like that. For the file, I just use the output of our move image function. So move image, path, just like that. And then for this, the type is an image. So we'll hit save. And then, so once that record is created, it's going to open the files page, which we'll go to next. The file picker is pretty simple. It's very similar. The only difference is it provides a list of files. In our case, we're just going to pick one. So what I did here, I checked to see if you only picked one file, basically. And if you picked one file, then it's going to do the exact same thing that it did up here. We're going to move the file. And the source path is going to be the first file. So there should only be one, so it's going to be, file picker file0.path. Should be the path of the first file. And then our target file path, same deal. It's going to be the directories.document plus a / plus the output of the first file's name. If they selected more than one file, I throw up a toast that says please choose only one file, and then it just kind of does nothing. But once you move the file, we're going to create the record, kind of the same thing we did with the image. So now the move file path and the type is now PDF. And then after that, we create we open the page. Alright, so if we go to the files page, basically all we have here is a container that's being repeated. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm blind. Alright, yeah, so you're going to repeat with and choose files. And I guess before we do that, we do need to set up a data variable. So you're going to add a new data variable, choose files, and it's going to look like this. And the only thing I changed here, I changed mine from a 5-second delay down to a 1-second delay, just so it deletes and loads a little bit faster. But you're dealing with local storage, so I don't think it's a big deal to kind of lower that a little bit. But yeah, so once you set that to repeat with files, every time you add a file, it's going to add, another container essentially. And the container is just a header. Well, it's a container that's laid out horizontally. So if I go to layout, oh, sorry, it's laid out vertically. But I've just got an icon in here, and I think I've justified it to the right so that it's on the right side. But yeah, if you click the icon, it's going to delete the file. So that would be the current.file, and that is the local file system path. And then it's also going to delete our on-device storage record. So you're just going to pass in the ID of the currently repeated item. And then we have kind of our previewer here. And the way that works, it's a image viewer as well as a web view. And I basically just hide the one that you're not supposed to see. So for instance, if I click on the image previewer and go to advanced properties and go to the visibility spot, I'm basically checking to see if it equals image. And if it does equal image, then it's going to be visible. And if it doesn't, then it won't be visible. And then I did the same thing for the PDF. So if the type is PDF, it's going to show up. And if it's not, then it'll hide. And basically you just get to see whichever one you're supposed to see. It's pretty easy. I think that's about it. Whenever you tap one of the containers, it's going to open the viewer page. And it's going to pass in the file system path as well as the type of file. So if we go, I guess we can look down here at the button as well. This is pretty much the exact same thing as our start page. You're just picking an image or picking a PDF. And then it's creating the record. The only difference actually is that it's just not launching a different page. So if we go look at our viewer, I have a back button which will take you just back to the kind of the main files page. And then I have an image viewer or a web view, and it's doing the same thing as the other page. It's just saying if the type is PDF, then it's going to show the web view, and if the type is image, it's going to show the image viewer. And then of course, to set up your parameters, you're going to go to page parameters, and I have a file parameter, which is a local file system path, and a type parameter, which is text. And then lastly, on our global canvas, when the app launches, it's going to check and see, well, first it's going to get all the files we have. And then it's going to check and see if we have greater than 0 files. If that's true, then we just launch to the regular files viewer. But if we have 0 files, then it's going to launch the start page and ask you to add a file. But anyway, that's about it. If you have any questions, just let me know on the forum and I'll try to respond and answer in a little bit more detail. Thanks.